So the song that you're going to hear from us is House of the Rising Sun, which is obviously a cover. Most people know it by The Animals. Most people think The Animals wrote it. It is actually a much older song. The words that I have chosen to use in the song are mostly from a version from 1927 and a recording that was found way back in, the phonogram type stuff. It is poured my heart and soul into the song because I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Kind of.
And you can probably tell while listening to it. It's also going to be our first music video. Woohoo!
Welcome to Millennial Pagan Podcast, the podcast that's discussing issues and hot topics influencing the pagan world from a millennial perspective. We're your hosts, Autumn Wolf.
And Jera Stone. And we actually have a full house in the studio with us today. We actually have 3/5 of the band Far From Home.
Woo.
Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves so everybody knows who they're listening to?
Oh, I get to go first?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hi, my name's Tim Schaefer, also known as Papa Dill, also known as Beep Beep the Squeaker Gnome, also known as Professor Merlin of Muggle Studies, also known as, hey, it's that guy that looks like a friend of mine.
Yes.
Okay, it's only an hour show.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Amy Schaefer. For some reason, I married that guy over there. I'm also known as Mama Pepper and Mad Madam Mim.
And I'm Stacia Kilpatrick, and I'm also known as Clove, or Our Clove, as they say. And yeah, that's me.
Well, welcome.
welcome
Thank
to
you
the
for
show.
coming in. So these guys are our second technical musical guests.
Yes.
You guys are part of a band with a couple other members called Far From Home, which if you're an Arizona native, you would have recognized them from the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, the
and-
Renaissance Fair. That's our big thing every year is the Arizona Renaissance Fair. I mean, that's where Amy and I first met.
Yep.
And, it's so cute.
And yet he's the romantic between the two of us.
It's true.
Aw.
It's true. When we go out to dinner, she has the beef ribs and I have a salad.
And she
Breaking
doesn't make a mess.
stereotypes. Yeah, no.
I
I
like
have a
it.
magical mouth.
That has so
You're
many
not wrong.
connotations.
There was a part of me that just wanted to say giggity right there.
It's all right.
It
They
was
can't see me
90% of you.
Yeah, 90% of me wanted to say giggity.
blushing. Yeah.
So there's also another reason why we brought you on, not only because you're great musical guests, but because I have you're pagan also,
But
and
Nope.
and third, you guys are in a relationship, all three of you together, and that is awesome sauce.
Wait, we are?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what they
You've
keep
been kind
telling
of around
me.
for like the last 2.5 years.
I was at the coffee shop when this was decided.
I've always been at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke between
Yeah.
us.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, you're allowed.
When we don't remember
Um,
something, we go, was I at the coffee shop?
Yeah.
Ah.
So I'm guessing the topic for today's show is polyamory and other types of relationships.
Yeah,
Dum, bum, bum, bum,
exactly.
digga, digga, dum, dum, boom.
Like it.
There you go.
So, in case our listeners don't know, polyamory, as of like how the word began, is steeped in paganism. Thank you, Morning Glory, for your terrible use of the English language. But
Yeah.
it works, right?
Mixing Greek and Latin, but it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
she's fine. It's
What
fine. We remember her as an awesome person
Yes.
and a crazy person. I read her
Okay.
memoirs. She was willing to be called crazy, so
I love the whisper. And a crazy person.
Uh-huh.
in the best way.
Right.
So, what do you guys want to start off with? So it's three pretty big topics.
Well, let's
What-
start
What
with.
is your big question about, like, people ask us stuff all the time, so it's more of a, what is your big question about
Yeah.
polyamory?
I guess myself is what is the most important thing that you guys would say keeps the relationship at its best?
Communication.
Yeah. I think that's a relationship.
Thank you. Yes.
Honestly, and we've had lots of friends ask us
Mhm.
about being poly and how it all works, outside of how it all works. They say, well, I mean, how does it? How are you guys able to be in a poly relationship? And we always say we talk to each other
All the time.
about everything.
hmm
Even when it's not happy. Like the other morning when I came in and sat up in bed and said, we've had a great, wonderful, happy morning, and now I have to be the bearer of bad news.
Oh no.
It was not fun.
No.
But we worked through our shit.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I remember now. I'm like, what? Was I at the coffee shop?
But like every relationship, it's a hey, this isn't working for me.
Yes.
How can we work together to figure it out? It's just
Yep.
another voice in the choir.
And really, it works in all arrangements of relationships, and even in monogamous relationships. I think people can learn just to communicate better
Mhm.
and
Yes.
just communicate constantly. And hey, this is what's going on in my brain, and what's going on in your brain, and how can this be better?
Right.
Well, and this even bleeds into dating outside of the triad. We call ourselves the Triforce Otter Pod because they're my significant otters.
Mhm.
Yep.
Aw.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I was the one who.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah,
and
because I'm the
disgusting.
romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like when we go out on individual dates with other people, it's not that, I'm on my phone chatting with all these women all the time, blah 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 blah, and never telling them about anything. It's me saying, hey, I might have a date with XYZ this week. We haven't worked out the details fully yet, and I'll keep you in the loop. And yes, I will admit I am the worst when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I put it in the calendar and forget to say things.
Or you don't put it in the calendar.
Or I don't put
And
it
you
in the
forget to say
calendar.
things.
Yeah. It is something that I'm working on,
Google
definitely.
Calendar is your friend.
It's true.
People think that being poly means it's easier because you can just go and have fun. Oh no, because you have to pull out your calendars and
Mhm.
schedule things
Coordinate.
and
Yeah.
coordinate. And like, there's the three of us raising kids. So it's not only just a, hey, who can be home with the kids so
Uh-huh.
people can go do something? I want to go on a date with this person. Is there anyone to be able to be home?
And then doctor's appointments and
Mhm.
who has the car, because we only have one car right now, and who can drive who
It's a
there, and
Yeah.
who works. And
Yeah. It gets
So-
a little confusing.
So I know you just mentioned, kids.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's one of the big things that I know some people might have questions about is, who's mom, who's dad, what do you call the other? How do you encompass children into the mix?
I want to start off by saying that there is no 100% definite way of being poly. It is what
Mhm.
works out best in your little group
Mhm.
Right.
with the communication that you have. But what works best in our group is Amy and I are the biological parent of Paige. And I've got her son is my stepson, even though I've known him since he was like 4. So we are, if we want to put a name on anything, we are mom and dad. And then there's Stacia. And we don't care if Paige and Orion call Stacia by her name or by mom or whatever. I mean, it's whatever the kids are most comfortable with, because it's all about consent and being comfortable in any situation.
Nice.
Recently, Paige has started calling Stacia my other mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really disgustingly cute.
It is, yeah.
Oh.
She's like, my other mom. Like, that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we let her come to that herself.
Good.
Or
Um,
sometimes she'll say my Stacia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
my
My
Stacia.
Stacia.
Yeah.
Oh.
While we've only been dating Stacia for almost 3
Almost
years.
3 years.
Almost 3 years. Yeah, 3 years this December.
Stacia's been around since Paige was a little over a year old.
No, less than.
Less
Yeah.
than a
She
year?
was like
She was like
5
9 months.
No,
5 months, 9 months. I don't know. You
It's in
remember
summer.
these things.
It was, yeah, because it was.
It was right before you lost Cadence.
See, I think she had to have been a little over a year, because Cadence would have been born when Paige was almost 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a little over a
Yeah.
year.
So
Yeah.
she's been around, and we worked together. And
Mhm.
Paige would come into the office with me. So
Mhm.
Stacia has been around. So Paige has been around Stacia that whole
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
As soon as we started talking about pseudo dating Stacia, it's convoluted
Yeah.
of how we started dating Stacia
Mhm.
too. That's a whole nother.
That's an
Right.
hour-long program
But,
right there.
Yeah.
We immediately started talking to Orion about it
Mhm.
all as well, and he's almost 16.
Mama had a moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's
It's
almost
all right.
16 and 6'4".
Yes.
Oh, wow.
he
Your
is very
producer's having a moment too, because he's known him for about
Yes.
that long.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
So
Paolo looks like, oh God, I'm old.
Yeah.
and interestingly enough, his father and wife are also pseudo in the poly-pagan world too. So Orion kind of gets it from both sides.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
he's pretty cool
Like
with
even
it.
before we talked, like we were talking at the dinner table, he's like, "Yeah, I kind of figured."
Yeah.
So the conversation to them hasn't been uncomfortable, weird, or them
No.
scared or anything. It's
The-
always just been that this is the norm.
Yeah.
And you tell us what's going on in your head, and we'll work with you.
The only uncomfortable conversation that we had to have was with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a year ago, a couple days ago, actually, or 2 years ago. It's 2 years ago. That there was the big, huge Saraha thing going on where people were like, I'll send you an anonymous message and you answer my questions or whatever, which was actually kind of fun for a bit. But I came out, and repeatedly saying, I'm poly, I'm pagan, I'm poly, I'm pagan. And on one of my threads, he decided to throw a fit saying, it's not right in the eyes of God, and going super religious on everything. And to the point where he started dragging my mom into the conversation.
Aww.
My mother, who came out to Arizona with my aunts who are in a relationship together, not my mom, but my aunts, and spent a lot of time with all of us at the house. And my mom loved Stacia from the moment.
We hung out at the Renaissance Festival before I was in the group, and we went out and saw them and hung out, and I'm force-fed her water because she wasn't drinking enough water because she's from Indiana.
So he started bringing my mom into the conversation, saying, well, your mother is sick to her stomach because of this. She's deleted Facebook off of her phone because of this. And I'm like, his biggest quote was, a man shall not serve two masters. And that was the quote that broke my back. And I'm like, you realize that was in the New Testament talking about how you can't be a servant to God and a servant to the Roman the Roman
Pantheon.
Not Pantheon, but government. There we go. Government. And that's what that whole thing was about. You can't pull quotes out of context like that down.
Right.
Personally, I just graduated a couple years ago from ASU at the age of 43.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I doubled in, my major was in history and my minor was in religion, because I've always felt that most religions were basically the same thing once you peel the eggshell coloring off, So I've done a lot of studying and reading all of the different religious texts and everything. And so I know a little bit more about the historical context also with the history degree. And these two, their eyes start glazing over like they are now when I start going on my history rants, because it happens.
Well, you brought up a good question. Are your others your masters? Is there ever a pull and take? Somebody's the boss and somebody's not.
We all kind of share it.
Yeah, I mean, so mostly when Tim is saying, I'm thinking about maybe dating this person, we give him advice.
Yeah, no, they also have veto power.
That makes sense.
So in the poly world, there's the veto power where you can say, I veto you dating this person. Stacia and I do not like using the absolute veto.
Right.
There has been one person in particular that we said, we're worried.
Yeah.
And this is why we're worried about you.
Yeah.
She has the potential to go full on boiling the bunny in our stove, and I don't want that.
Right.
So maybe think about it. And we're not necessarily opposed, but you attract crazy women, and you want to fix the crazy women. So
I do love the crazy.
So we reference the Vicky Mendoza diagonal
from How I Met Your Mother.
From How I Met Your Mother.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
Way
Crazy
over.
hot.
Way over.
Oh,
Way
so
over.
much that recently she just completely deleted all of us. It's like,
Yep.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
that's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
That's good.
Yay.
But anyway.
Hopefully it's not anybody I know. But I do know a couple
Yeah,
people.
I was gonna say.
I tend to attract the
Yeah.
same type of people you
Yeah.
do.
Hey.
So
What?
But
It's true.
But most of them, we've been really encouraged of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same. And,
Like, he
I
went on a
encourage...
date last week.
I did.
And, okay, so another word is compersion.
Yes.
When you're...
When you feel happy that your
Excited
partner is
about your
dating
partner.
somebody else.
So he's out on a date, and he's like, I'm not going to be that long. And Stacia and I were like, I so want to ask him how it's going, but I don't want to interrupt him either. And we're just like, oh! So as soon as she got home, we're like, so how was the date?
Tell us all about her.
It was worse than that. I came into a living room full of women because we had some other friends over, and they're all like, "So, how was the date?" And I'm
It's like you're the teen boy coming home to mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Nervous too.
Yeah,
And he has us pick out his clothes for him. It's adorable.
Aw, no, that's useful. Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So jealousy can't really be an equation in this.
Oh, it
totally
is.
Yeah, no, it's.
But
yeah.
that comes back to
The
the
communication.
conversation and communication.
Jealousy is not bad.
Jealousy just means there's something that you need to come into contact with yourself and figure out what the root cause of it is and why. And then once you can start talking about it, you figure it out and you work your way through it. To be honest, when everything started, it was Tim and Stacia started dating.
And then 2 days later.
Jealousy was huge with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it still, even when Stacia and I started dating, it still was months of working through things. And I realized that there was a lot of issues because when Tim and I first got together, we immediately said, we're going to be in an open relationship. Before we even got married, before anything, it was, we are going to be in an open relationship.
Yeah, and there wasn't really much conversation after that, just we're going to be open, and there was no no rules.
No real checking in with each other. And, like, things happened. We went on the road, the two of us, started far from home, and went on the road, and we ended up having a third partner that we sang with in Kentucky, and sang with in Kentucky as well. And it was a really, really fun week, and then we got to sing about it on stage in the Dirty Pub Sing, so, you know, it was great. But then while we were there in Kentucky performing, another guy became interested in me, and Tim's jealousy got huge. And we never talked about it. And so I just kind of stopped it. And it wasn't until years later, coming back to Stacia, that we started talking about it. I'm like, I feel like it's okay for you, but it's not as okay for me because we're not talking about the jealousy issue and you won't. So then we sat down and had lots and lots of conversation. It took a lot.
Right.
And even recently we talked about stuff and we touched base with just the two of us, touched base with each other, and how are we feeling? And yeah, it's a lot better now than, because jealousy is totally a thing, and it can come up in the weirdest thing. Well,
and it could be, you know, just meeting somebody and then them coming up and kissing your partner on the neck, and you know that was where the jealousy stemmed from on that guy, and it was like you don't just do that. You don't just walk up to someone and kiss them on a very intimate spot. Or you do. And that was one of the things that I had to work around. And I you know, I'm constantly telling these two, I'm like, hey, go talk to people, go meet guys or women, or
That's
you know.
That's for the extrovert to say.
Yeah, it's great for the extrovert to say because it's easy. How you doing?
I've gone out on dates.
Yeah.
Dates.
I'm glad you added the S. I was about to get worried.
That's plural.
Yeah.
Me not so much.
And then there was the one guy who just totally threw his shot.
Yeah.
Aww.
Totally threw his shot at Comic-Con of all places. So I was like, oh, honey, you just threw your shot. Bye.
Yeah.
Are you open from the get-go with your dates? Like, hey, this is where I am, or do you let it slowly come out over time?
Oh, we're open.
I pretty much only want to know that I'm dating people that are poly, or at least interested in poly.
Or okay with poly.
Yeah, I don't want to date somebody that is a mono. Too much can happen from that.
Right.
And jealousy and not talking things through. I know there are groups online about people who are mono or their partner is mono and they let them be poly because of whatever reasons. And it works for them. But for me, like, I love the idea of what's called kitchen table poly. I want everybody to get to know everybody and be some level of companionship friends. We don't have to be the bestest buds as metas. And, you know, but this wonderful woman that Tim recently went on a date with, like, I've had a lunch date with her. I've gone clubbing and run into her and we've hung out. And I really, really like her. And I'm like, that makes me happy because I appreciate who she is. And I know that if we wanted to all hang out, we could.
Right.
And I love that aspect of having metas is somebody that I can have a friend as well. It doesn't have to be a best friend, but
somebody at least that you can discuss
makes
things
it
with.
easier.
Yeah.
And she can feel comfortable to reach out to me. Hey, this is what's going on with Tim. Do you have any, you know, if they continue on, like, do you have any other suggestions that might help? Or I want to do the surprise for Tim. Like, we can do stuff together, you know? Like,
Tim hates surprises.
Yeah, Tim hates surprises.
And we're really good at pulling them off.
Good, but we can pull them off on him.
Yeah.
Like when we surprised him at the Harry Potter party.
Yeah. Yeah, I had no clue they were coming to the kids' party. I looked up and there's the 20-foot tall stepson walking towards me, and I'm like, did he come with somebody else? What's going on? And then the rest of the family shuffled into the great hall, and I'm like, oh, those jerks. Okay.
And I saw them coming through the maze. So for little backstory, so I actually met Tim at a Harry Potter birthday party where he was Merlin and I was actually just attending as Hagrid. And actually this was when Autumn and I went there together for the first time. And it wasn't till
that year too.
And it wasn't till a few months later, actually, at Phoenix Comic Con Palooza, whatever it was,
whatever it is now,
that I walked into a panel that that Tim and everybody was heading up that was actually about Hagrid's
affection for monsters.
Oh, yes.
That was the throw off panel that we had to do to appease the great machine that is Square Egg Entertainment.
Yes.
It was also like the second time we've done that panel.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
Basically, it's care and feeding for magical creatures. We actually, one of our band members and one of Amy's oldest friends. Well, not really. I can't really say oldest because she's about the same age. So
She's
longest running friend.
Longest friend, yeah.
We have now known each other for over half our lives.
Yeah.
Nice.
She is a veterinarian in real life. So we asked her, we were like, okay, so we want to do this care and feeding of magical creatures, but we need to do the Harry Potter spin to pull in some of these creatures. But what we want to do is pull in the real sciencey stuff of like what could happen. So here's Fluffy, the 3-headed dog. What is the thing you have to look out for that? And she's like, let's talk about distemper and flipped stomach syndrome and other weird stuff.
Yeah.
GDG.
That's it.
But and it was actually after this panel, I actually went up and I was like, hey, you were Merlin at the party, and actually Tim invited me to actually participate in the next year's Harry Potter party. And
Because you were kind of awesome.
Because
Pretty good Hagrid.
those that know me and follow my cosplay stuff, I essentially am Hagrid.
Suck.
Yeah.
I don't suck. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah. And then there's me, who's living in a household of your older friend or longer running friends than, of course, me. And then they're like, oh, yeah, look, it's Far From Home. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know that guy. And he's like, yeah, I know your co-host. I'm like, I need you guys on the show. And then 2 years later, I'm like, I need you guys on the show. And they're like, okay. I'm like, no, like this weekend. Like, I need you on the show this weekend.
So speaking of the band, I think we're going to go ahead and take a short break.
Agreed.
Listen to a song, and we'll be back. We're going to dive a little bit more.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds great.
So many years ago, a friend of mine was separated from his wife because of work, and she was living here in Arizona. He was out in Texas, and he wrote this amazing 7-stanza poem that he posted it on Facebook, and it was so touching and beautiful. I looked at it, I was like, I'm hearing music for that. So of course I contacted him and I was like, hey bud, do you mind if I use your poem as one of my songs? And he goes, I would be honored. Just let me know if you ever record it. So it took a little bit, but I wrote everything from start to finish except for the poem. I added one more line into the stanza. I think it was from sunrise to every sunrise is the only thing that I added. And it has become one of the staples that we sing at all festivals. And so here is, simply put, Ivar's song.
He stands there shaking and trembling, counting each bill in his hand. He's worked so hard down at his job to buy that one special gold band. He takes her out someplace special, only sees her in his life. He gets down on one knee and says with a prayer, please will you be my only wife? And and she will know that he loves her. Her beauty comforts him in sleep. She holds his breath within her chest. The strength rests in her eyes, and his life continues with her touch. From sunrise to every sunrise. With all that he is and all that he will be, she will know that he loves her. The times that they spent, the places they went, the wind blowing free in their hair, with damsels and dragons, with Vikings and flagons, memories and hearts to share. The friends far and near, with us or not here, separate them no one would dare. Love in their eyes catches people passing by, makes them all stop and stare and say that she will know that he loves her. Her beauty comforts him in sleep. She holds his breath within her chest. Strength rests in her eyes, and his life continues with her touch. From sunrise to every sunrise. And all that he is and all that he will be, she will know that he loves her. That he loves her, oh, that he loves her.
What are you doing?
Playing with my nipples.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome back to Millennial Pagan Podcast, where we have 3/5 of Far From Home playing with their nipples.
You know,
Well, no,
there's-
only one
one
fifth
fifth.
was playing with his
Yes.
nipples.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
I wish this was a video cast. That would have been awesome. Support us. That way we can go ahead and do video casts.
Yeah. On Patreon, which you'll hear
I
about
promise
later.
Stacia is actually dressed.
Yes, everybody has something on their bottom and on their top.
We
I
did
can
a video
change that.
once where it was filmed just right that everybody thought Stacia was naked.
Yep.
I think you were even in this dress.
Probably.
One of them.
That makes sense.
Slutty moo-moos.
Yep.
Slutty
That's
moo-moo.
such a good song now that we finished it.
Anyway,
Anyway, before we start talking about your music, I have one question for all of those of our listeners who are curious. Can you let us know some of the terminology that is used either in polyamory or in the polyamory community?
So there's a difference
yeah.
between polyamory and polygamy.
yes.
Polyamory is more the dating aspect, amory being love,
And many loves.
Yes, many loves, and polygamy is the marriage, and it has a negative connotation in this day and age.
Well, it had a negative connotation in the 1700s, which is why it was, okay for you to shoot Mormons in the 1700s, 1800s.
1800s.
Yeah, 1800s. Sorry. Yeah, that was a thing in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, all it actually means is one man with many wives.
Yes.
I cannot remember off the top of my head right now what the one woman and many husbands is.
Poly and
No.
It's androgy, is it?
androgy,
Yeah,
right?
androgy.
Yeah.
And estrasy. It's androgy and estrasy. When you get into the sociological aspects of primate societies, you get into the androgy, which is the male, and the estrony, which is the female-led groups.
Yep.
But that's,
That's a podcast for a
Primates.
different page.
yes, it is.
Yes. I know I said metas earlier.
Those are your metamors.
I love the term metamors. When I heard that term, I was like, I want a metamor really bad. Like, so bad that Tim was dating a toxic woman, and I said, I want you to be my metamor, and she said, okay, and then she wasn't, and then, yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
But anyways, metamor is I'm not dating somebody that Tim is dating, or Stacia's not dating somebody that Tim is dating, but we're friends. So we're somewhat related because we have this one person that we both love and care for in common.
So, and then we have to get into the styles of polyamory. So what we have is we are a triad. We are an open triad, which means the three of us are all on the same level. There is no one person higher ranking. There's not a hierarchy. I mean, yes, I call Amy my wife because it's a legal thing, and Stacia's our girlfriend because, legalities, really. That's it, and it's just labels. But really and truly, when it comes down to it, I have two amazing women who look after my well-being and mental health and everything, and it all works all the way around. So that's the triad.
The triad, as in
yes,
Stacia and I go out on dates. Tim and I go out on dates. Tim and Stacia go out on dates. Then all three of us get to go out on dates once in a while when we get a babysitter, which is really nice.
And then there is another style that is called the poly V formation. I know it sounds
wait,
like...
before you go there, there's the closed triad.
The closed triad, which is only just the three of us. We're doing no extracurricular dating.
Yeah, but we're all open.
Yeah.
I like the
Then there's the
extracurricular
V.
dating.
And
then there's the V, which means there is one person in the middle. So we'll say, and we'll use us as examples. At first, we were a V because I was married to Amy, and then I asked Stacia to be my girlfriend. So it was
for 2 days.
For 2 days. I was the hinge of the V. I was the point of the V. And then then for another day, Amy and Stacia were the only person dating each other.
I was your metamorph for 2
Yes.
days.
Yay!
2 days. And with V's, it like I said before, there's no right or wrong or hard fast rules.
And from there, it can
about
go
anything.
crazy. You could have W's in any other shape and form you can think of.
I think the best way to describe it is chemistry. Because there's a lot of people who say that they don't like the term polyamory. They use relationship anarchy, which isn't necessarily what we do, because there's also a negative connotation on that. But then there's also what is called the polycule.
Yes. Within anarchy, there's also the opposite of the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And there's negative connotation for some on the hierarchy. Personally, I do believe in some hierarchy. And the reason I do believe in that is because Tim and I are actually married, and we have kids that we have to worry about. Right? So if it's going to damage our relationship somehow, I have to worry about that and think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And those that practice anarchy tend to be the younger ones who don't have the solo polys, who don't have the committed relationships that they've been in for a long time. Like Tim and I have been together for almost 9 years.
Yes.
To almost 10 years. I don't know, somewhere along those lines.
We're at 9 years right now.
We're bad at math.
Yes.
That's fine. So are we.
History major.
So there's many different ways you can all put it together. Then there's the solo poly where, hey, yeah, I'm a poly person. I want to have multiple loves, but I don't have anybody that I'm completely committed to like we are right now.
And there's also a difference between being polyamorous and being a swinger. And there's a lot of the misconception is, oh, well, you're poly, that means you can go out and bone whoever the hell you want. And that's not how polyamory is. Swingers, it means basically you have multiple sex partners, and and depending upon your dynamic, it could be that your main partner knows everything, or your main partner doesn't care and doesn't know who you stick your dick in.
The don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, the don't ask, don't tell.
Which still happens in poly.
Yes,
too,
it does.
But
it does.
Not as much.
So, yes, with swingers, it's more of a carnal,
sexual component than
the
emotional component.
Polyamory is definitely more emotional, and
there's also satellites. We have a wonderful friend who travels.
Sister.
Yes, we call her sister. She travels the country, travels all across, back and forth. So she has what she calls satellites. She's got a couple people that when she is in that state, no matter what, she is going to be with them. She loves them dearly. One she calls her wife. One, you know, she loves this other guy as well, and she is constantly communicating. They do video chats with each other no matter what state they're both in. But she has these satellite loves that if they happen to come in the same, cross path, they're going to have a week together where they have really good relationship time. They still communicate with each other outside of time, but it's more like, your best friend that as you've grown up, you don't talk to quite as much, but when you do, when you actually get to go have tea or coffee or whatever, and you spend 3 hours just catching up, and it's like even though you hadn't seen each other in a year or talked in months, that's kind of a satellite type relationship. And I see how that works for some people.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That makes
And
me
there's no
think of a relationship of my own.
no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah. Everybody has their own way to do poly.
And
there are many, many good resources.
I guess if we had to put a second major rule on poly, it's consent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rule number 1 is communication. Rule number 2 would be consent.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially with all of the craziness that's going on in the world nowadays with the Me Too movement and
everything.
all the negativity. It's not that hard to. Sometimes it's very hard. No, it's not that hard to just say, "Hey, I want to go on a date with you. Is that cool with you?" And if the person says yes, great, you're on a date. If the person says no, I don't see you that way, then it's like, all right, cool, moving on. We're still gonna be friends. I've had many, many, many of my lady friends that I've had that weird conversation with, and it's like, I don't really see you in a dating capacity. I'm like, all right, cool. It's not gonna change my relationship with you that we have right now. I just, was curious if you wanted to go with more than just drinks.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that just came out of his mouth.
That was super smart.
Hey, well, at least I'm not talking about shooting babies up women, all right?
Yeah, you
Whoa.
did. Or you did.
That is- yeah.
You did that.
I did that.
You're fixed.
Yes.
Aw.
So that is another aspect.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's a very good thing. Yeah, because
No more kids.
super fertile Danish blood. The
Ah.
Vikings, we take over one uterus at a time.
Whoa.
It's so true.
I want to spit out my water at that
My uterus is afraid.
Don't worry.
Snipped,
Once
so.
again, I'm fixed. So
No, you just told me that mine's super fertile.
yes, more than likely it is.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Let's get
Let's
off of that uncomfortable topic.
Let's talk about music instead of babies.
Well, I mean,
It is your baby, right?
yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
how you met.
That's how
That's
we
how
met.
we met.
Oh.
We were also on tour in Kentucky when
You made a baby.
Tim
Yeah.
woke up from a dream and said, I just had this dream.
Oh, you're gonna? Oh, tell me. I get to
I'll
tell the
the other
story.
half.
Oh,
I'll tell this
awesome.
half.
So I woke up and I was like, dude, I just had this really weird fucking dream. And she's like, okay. And I said, well, I dreamt that I was sitting in this dining room area, and I was holding this little baby girl with red hair, and she was all swallowed up and being cutesy and everything, and I was bouncing her in my arm, and I said, oh, you're just about the cutest little baby in the world. Because in my dreams, apparently, I talk like I'm from Kentucky. That's my Indiana roots showing, because basically anything south from Indianapolis is northern Kentucky. And the baby then looked up at me and said, well, actually, Dad, I mean, I'm being mansplained in my dream
By
my
your
daughter.
own child.
by my own child. Well, actually, Dad, my name is Paige Rose, and I'm going to come and live with you and Mommy as soon as, I'm done being born. And I'm like, all right, that's weird. And then she goes, now read to me from the newspaper. And I'm like, okay. So I opened up the newspaper, which I never do, because newspapers. And so I started reading something, and she goes, no, Dad, read to me from the classifieds. And I flipped to the classifieds, and I'm like, puppies and kittens. She's like, no, Dad, read to me the weird stuff. And anybody who has met my child knows that, that's her. So
we
anyway,
finished off the wonderful Kentucky Festival.
cast party was awesome, by the way.
Cast party was really good.
Ooh.
And then we drove all the way back to Arizona because my son, it was his birthday, and he was getting ready to start first grade at that point, and we wanted to spend some time with him, so we drove back to be with him. I got uber sick driving back. Like, in the hospital, uber
no.
sick.
Yeah.
While I was there, we found out I was pregnant.
So imagine this. I'm sitting in the waiting room, waiting for her to get done with her tests, because, with any woman, you have to go take a pregnancy test and get an ultrasound done, no matter what. I mean, you could have stubbed your toe and been like, have you had a pregnancy test lately?
Yes.
True.
I know this.
Yeah. So she comes in and she sits down very calmly, and she says,
So I'm pregnant.
and I looked at her and I went, huh,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So we obviously knew that it was going to be Paige Rose.
Yeah, because we remembered the weird-ass dream
Yeah.
after all of this, and we started doing the math and everything, and we were like, holy shit, you were already pregnant when I had that dream. How fucking crazy is that, man?
And as we just
So-
tell everybody, the Kentucky Festival has a really good cast party.
Yup.
Because that's when the dates came out to be.
Well, and really and truly, when you live in Arizona most of your life,
Yes.
you don't get to see the beauty and the majesty
Fireflies.
of fireflies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Or just seeing the rest of the country. I mean, sure, Arizona is a gorgeous, gorgeous state all unto itself, but our country that we live in right now has got some just breathtaking views all the way across it, and it really kind of, little soapbox moment. It irritates me when all these kids are like, well, I'm going to Europe because Europe is awesome, or I'm going to go hang out down in Mexico for spring break. And it's like, no, what is wrong with you? Go to, Ozarks. Go to the Poconos. Go take some moments and live in Seattle for, 6 weeks. Take some time to learn the country that we live in.
Unless you don't like bridges.
Shut up. Bridges are evil.
The funny part is my grandparents' honeymoon was the Poconos. So you're like, the Poconos. I'm
And
like,
it's gorgeous.
I took Tim to the Grand Canyon for our anniversary.
Mind-blowing.
I've camped in the Grand Canyon.
So
It's
have I.
Yeah.
I keep telling him I need to take you to the North Rim because it's better.
Because I need to
Yeah.
see the giant squirrels.
Yes.
the gray squirrels, and they'll come right up and sit on your
Love it.
shoulder and eat food out of your hand. Yeah, I love the gray squirrels.
Because
up
other
there.
than monkeys, squirrels are the greatest creature ever created. Or evolved, whatever you
So
believe
when
in.
we were in Kentucky, one of the big things that we did was we had Monday night mojito and music madness. Everybody had to bring something that started with the letter M. Even was like mom's lasagna.
Or M&Ms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to share. And we would just have giant jam sessions.
Mhm. It's good times.
We continued that when we came back to Arizona.
Yep.
We've been talking about doing it again,
Mhm.
like once a month, because we kind of miss doing just
Music jams.
jam sessions with our friends. Because everybody keeps saying, we just want to jam out with you. And we're like, we should do that some more. So,
Let's pencil it in for 2020.
right? One of the exciting things that we're doing is we're actually building a stage in our backyard.
Woo!
Nice.
So we can actually start doing some fun stuff. Because when the weather is nice, even at as hot as it is right now, in the evenings,
It's
the way
nice,
our
yeah.
backyard is and the fact that we get irrigation, our backyard's not horrendous.
It's
Right.
usually about 5 to 10 degrees cooler
Mhm.
in
In
our
the
backyard.
backyard. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're like, even, maybe not July, August, but the rest of the months we could probably have jam sessions and be able to do it outside. So,
And speaking music-wise, I know personally I've been singing since I was born. I pretty much came out into the world. I wasn't really crying. I was singing and entertaining people. I mean, I remember at 3 years old, my dad had a photo studio at that point, and he said, "Go entertain these people." And I finished up the last set, and I had this stupid little cardboard puppet, and I walked out with a hanky and stuff, and I said, "All right, sit down and be amazed as I astound you with magical tricks." 3 years old. And I've always sang. So music is a very important part of my life. And when I'm looking for potential partners, they don't necessarily have to be a musician. It's always a bonus. But they have to at least be able to appreciate music.
Right.
Because it is so important.
I mean, in our household, we break into song every 10 minutes.
It's true. Sometimes we make up the words.
Yeah, usually.
Usually
Yeah.
we make up the words.
it's important enough for me that when I left my ex 3 days before my birthday, on my birthday, I basically did a ritual for myself in what I wanted in the perfect man. and wrote down, and I didn't want like complete details of things, but
Right.
I wanted some things. And the three top things, where I wanted like a big teddy bear
Check.
that would sing to me
Check.
and eat garlic and onions.
Check. And
You
Star Wars.
manifested a
Well, Star
Tim.
Wars.
Yeah,
yes.
Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
You manifested a Tim.
She kind of did.
Like
Across the
so
country.
much that that was December, and I met him in February.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was already with someone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we first met, I wasn't.
You were
was-
with
was I?
Krista when we first
Really?
met.
Okay. I was at the coffee shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's where you were with Krista.
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
Oh, awkward.
Oh.
So between the three of us, with all of our different musical abilities, we can say we've probably got about 100 years worth of musical experience
We should
in
add
one
that
way or
up
another.
sometime.
We really should, because I
Not
know.
now.
No, I know. I've been singing since I was a wee tot, and I didn't start getting into instruments until shortly before Amy and I met. Whereas Amy,
I'm the weakling when it comes to singing and voice stuff. I've been playing instruments since 4th grade. I play the string family, so violin, viola, cello. We recently got an upright bass, so I'm going to be learning that one.
woo.
I play some piano. I've done some flute. I've done guitar. I am definitely a jack of all trades when it comes to instruments.
I'm a little
I
jealous.
love music.
She can pick it up and within 5 minutes have it figured out. It's kind of
Nice.
ridiculous.
But
I
you're
did-
also doing something with that as far as education right
Yes,
now.
I had my 40th birthday present to myself was to go back to school as a composition and theory major.
Oof.
Awesome. So I am working on that really hard right now.
And she's rocking it.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I actually
So much
in
so.
a composition class this coming up semester, and I'm starting to stress a little about it.
Aw.
But my first piece is I'm going to finish one piece that I wrote for Cadence. I know we talked about her a little bit earlier. She was a child we lost at 24 weeks after Paige.
Oh.
She's here. And
She's pointing to her
so this
chest.
is
You
the-
can't really
you
see
can't
it.
see
It's a
it.
tattoo.
It's a tattoo of a bird with a melody that I wrote for Cadence,
Mhm.
based off of her name.
Mhm.
And
So it's
I've
like
been working on it.
A, D for the notes, then back to A, and then what was it, E natural?
Yes,
No, E,
C natural.
C natural for the N, and then
Yeah.
C. Yeah. It's yeah.
So I wrote the melody, and now I've actually started working on it for my composition class to actually pull it into a
awesome.
whole tune. So that's going to be my first official tune that I'm nervous about. But
And even though she hasn't tooted her own horn that much because it's quote not official yet, according to her.
it's not. I haven't signed a
yeah, I know.
contract.
She has been scouted out by the Arizona
Yes.
Girl Choir has asked her to be the music theory teacher
Yes.
for the
Yes.
youngins, which
So
they're still working out the
Paige
details.
went to their music camp and then stayed and auditioned to be part of the girls' choir.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got an email of, "Hey, we don't remember what she auditioned and how she did. Can she come back in and audition?" Sure, I guess. So they took her in, and then they basically
Cornered you.
cornered me because we had discussed
Ulterior
things.
motive.
Yeah, ulterior motive. Hey, will you be our theory teacher? And they pulled out all their theory books and took me to the theory room, and we had whole conversations. And then they said, and not only that, but Paige made the intermediate choir. She's probably going to be the youngest one in there. Awesome, thanks.
And she's
Yeah.
going to be a great little leader in there.
Yeah,
She's 8.
yeah. The youngest, the next oldest one is 10. So
They're
yeah,
about 10 in the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I feel bad for Orion because he's the one with the least musical ability in our family.
but he's a really good drummer, and good lord, he's got bass that can rival Avi from the Pentatonics.
Seriously,
Nice.
you
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Yeah, because we have phone apps that can tell you what
Where
pitch and
range is.
everything it is, and he was like hitting A0, which is about
and
as
he'll
low
just
as you
like
can
bust
get.
it out when he's talking. You're like, where did that come from?
Suddenly adult.
Yeah.
Oh, when he answers his phone, I'm like, "Yep, that's my son." Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
And then my music, getting back to the music ability.
Yes, getting back to the music.
Because I'm going to talk now.
Okay.
So
I feel bad because in my last conversation with friends, I literally told somebody's partner, how about you let them talk? And they just looked at me and they were like, oh, I haven't sorry.
I'm the quiet one
She really
of
is.
the group.
She's the introvert.
I really am. And I'm
She's
the
also the
Hufflepuff
Hufflepuff.
of the two Ravenclaws.
She's our
So,
Huffle slut.
yeah.
Badger, Raven.
So my musical ability, I started singing in choir in school in Massachusetts in the 4th grade, and then in the Catholic Church, which I'm recovering from.
We understand here.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
3 of us over
Yeah.
here on this side of the...
My Timothy.
I'm trying to keep it in.
We will cover your mouth. Yours too.
It's my podcast. Anyway, go ahead, please. Catholic Church.
And then I started taking piano lessons from my soon-to-be stepfather. That was an experience when my mom got married to him, and having your stepfather be your piano teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a little traumatized, but
Congratulations, I'm sorry.
he was an amazing is an amazing musician because he is still living. I don't speak to him any longer,
Aw.
but it's a good thing.
Okay.
He's
Is he still here in the valley?
he is.
Because we looked him up, didn't we?
He lives in Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't Facebook stalk at all.
No, not at all. I keep tabs on him. So I play a little piano. I played flute for a little while. Now in the band, I play what I call the ching-chingies.
That's the technical term.
Yes.
Ching chingies.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a wristlet made with bells on them, so rhythm instruments.
Mhm.
I am the high soprano of the group.
Like uber high.
Uber high.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that
So how Orion is super bass, Paige is super high soprano, and her and Stacia go back and forth between to see who can get the highest.
Yeah, the little
Ugh.
bitch.
We say that in a loving way.
Yeah.
One day she just randomly hit F#7 just to
Just-
sing a note.
Wow.
Yeah. We're like, wow.
When she
okay.
got her tonsils out, her voice got a little deeper, so
Yeah.
Got
she's
you,
not
yeah.
as much of
She's
a bitch.
probably going to be a bit more of an alto like me, but with one hell of a range.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's going to have more of a range than I am.
Yes.
So yeah, we obviously we mentioned earlier that we met at the Renaissance Fair. I had done some traveling, and I came back here for a different lady, and
Oh, and Tim is teaching me auto harp.
I am teaching her the auto harp. I
fun.
also play the penny whistle, guitar,
I played guitar.
viola a little bit. I play the rubber chicken pretty good.
Yes,
too.
Yeah,
he does.
I taught her the rubber chicken.
You didn't
No.
bring the rubber chicken. I was
played the
hoping
rubber
for that
chicken, I taught you.
bandmate to
No,
come.
no, I taught
Sorry,
you.
we didn't bring leftovers.
Yeah, we did not, because he's probably on another drunken binge, because that's
He
what
would
rubber
talk.
chickens
No,
do.
leftovers would talk more than him.
It's true.
And leftovers is also totally the diva.
Yes.
This is why there's only 2 songs that we let leftovers sing with
True.
us. Generally only the one. So
But anyway, we were doing 2 separate musical entities at the Arizona Renaissance Festival. 13 years ago, something like that.
Forever ago.
Yeah, forever ago. And it
because
came
we're
down
nerds,
to
mine was the Greek mythology of the Pleiades.
Yep.
The 7 sisters that were turned into birds.
Not the Pleiades.
Not the
Okay,
Pleiades, the
yes.
Pleiades.
Yes.
They're bird mythology. So we had ginormous feather eyelashes,
Ooh,
which
fun.
were amazing. And we kind of had this Greek theme in how we dressed.
And my boys and I, we were the fools of Fairhaven, because we were all in our motley outfits. And not only were we the fools of Fairhaven, but we were one of the few openly pagan groups at Renaissance Fair, and we'd actually discussed the origins and the beliefs of what fools were back in the Renaissance, which was pretty awesome. But then I looked at Amy at one point, and I was like, let's just go make music together now.
Yeah.
And we
and
did.
then at one point, we still had our 2 different groups.
Mhm.
And we would smash all of us on stage at the same time.
So imagine, if you will, the most color in the world all thrown together in a cacophony of sound and magic.
And nobody was in drag.
No.
But there was so much color on that stage.
Color.
It was insane.
Wow.
I know there's pictures of it because they were always scheduled right after we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to where we would actually do 2 songs together as the groups.
As kind
they
of
came in as one of
we're
ours and we
leaving
left as during one of theirs.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. And then we split up our groups and said, bye, bitches. We're going and doing our own thing.
Which, most of the people who were a part of our groups, they're now on to do their own style of music and everything. They're looking into, how they can be an entertainer again without being in a group, which is awesome. Or, having their own music groups, like our buddy Hodge, who does a group called Within Sound. Because we're far from home and they're within sound.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hers to keep.
She keeps playing with it.
And it's driving her crazy.
Okay.
What?
I just wanted you to know that that's hers. She can do what she wants.
She keeps fiddling with it. And it's,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm stimming a little.
Okay, cool.
All right. So then my next question about Far From Home is what is happening with Far From Home now?
Oh my goodness.
So we are currently in a building phase right now and working on different musical numbers that we've been kicking around with for a while.
So most recently we were up at Medieval Mayhem.
Which is a fantastic little festival up in Pinetop Lakeside. Usually either the first or second full weekend of July. Which is also where Ivar's song comes from. So
The people who own that festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have been up there. I really wish I would have gone.
Yeah,
So
well,
we
you know
wrote-
the entertainment director, I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm pointing at myself for those of you who can't see.
We wrote our first written
Fully
down
adult show
adult show.
Nice.
for up there and
Which was
debuted
pretty
it.
spectacular.
Yeah.
So we're starting to rehearse that more. So our big goal is when I am done with my AA is we want to go on the road for a little while and travel. So we're in the stages of actually writing shows. So that's part of the reason we're building a stage in our backyard is to rehearse those shows.
Nice.
Because normally what we
Yep.
do is we kind of just have a book in
Yeah,
front of us
we
and
play music
feel
all
the
day.
crowd and we say, what do we want to play? What sounds good?
Yeah, feel the crowd, see what they like.
And also our next big engagement is coming up on November 2nd, a little thing that people around Valley might know. It's called Pagan Pride Day, I think.
Phoenix
Pagan
Pride
Pride
Day.
Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So-
might be talking with the organizer of that
don't
again.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
So if our
Yeah, we're
listeners
gonna
don't
be
know about that,
Running around
you
as
haven't been
strolling
listening.
musicians.
Strolling musicians playing our tunes
Woo.
everywhere.
We
And-
unfortunately will not be there the whole day
No.
because we also have another event that night.
which is
Because-
our Far From Home after
After-
Halloween party that we've been doing for many years now. And it's
like
open to
year
all of our
5.
fans.
All of our
Yeah.
fans that live in the valley are
Yeah.
welcome to come.
Or anyone out of state if you really want to travel.
I mean,
Yeah,
we've got a couch.
Right. We'll be sharing that on our Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
But I
Nice.
think we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll be back with Far From Home and we'll start talking about pagan stuff.
Woohoo!
Jera, have you ever wondered if our Patreon supporters are truly getting great benefits for their money? Of course you do, because I've asked it at the end of every episode.
That's true.
Well, if you, dear listener, are wondering if you should support Millennial Pagan Podcast through Patreon, I think we should tell you why.
Well, at the $1 mark, of course, you get a personalized thank you right here on the show.
Right at the very end of the show, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And at the $5 mark, not only do you get those thank yous at the end of the show, but you also have access to a 30-minute mini-sode every month
And one of our exclusive buttons and stickers.
sent directly to your home or address that you provide to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why are those mini-sodes so awesome?
Well, I think because we answer a lot of interesting questions that we may not have time for during one of these shows.
Yeah, and it's just us yammering on being silly.
And, of course, we have a lot of more bloopers that we get to show you at the end.
Also, in the near future, Patreon supporters, we will have more exclusive content, and you'll also be the first to know of any changes that happen to Millennial Pagan Podcast.
So if you aren't a Patreon supporter yet, why don't you go ahead and think about it and join up so you can get all these great benefits.
See you next time.
All right, we are back after some talk there with music and all that. And we had the conversation with polyamory. Usually, we start off the show talking about you're coming of witch story, you're breaking out of the broom closet, whatever you want to call it. But we want to talk, of course, Millennial Pagan Podcast. We want to talk about the pagan side of things.
Yeah, we kind of swapped it around. We're going to put it at the very end. You guys can talk as much or as little as you want about your current practice, but I know you guys practice all together.
It's funny because we're kind of Jack Pagan.
And what is Jack Pagan?
We also have called it weekend paganers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely do something for the Sabbats.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what's going on in our lives, we try to do something for the Espits. I'm probably the high priestess of our little household coven.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm the one that generally comes up with whatever we're doing ritual-wise, whatever we need to do, and decide where it's going to happen. Because we have a couple places in our house.
Backyard.
Yeah. But on a whole, we're kind of horrible about taking, the big, huge, ritual baths and having everything ready and I'll do that in solitary practice, but not necessarily when we're all together.
So you're saying that we're kind of kaputs with the mikvahs and all that stuff? Just wondering here.
Yes, dear.
All right.
Yes, dear. Oh, my goodness. Life with this man.
Oh, you love it.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yay.
Um,
I love how sincere that was.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, but I loved how sincere that was.
it is. My coming
Out of the broom closet. That's brilliant,
story.
by the way. I like that.
Started in high school. I was one of those born-again Christian crazy types.
Thank you for
Went
coming
through
to
a
the dark
lot
side.
of shit growing up with parents and step-parents and stepfathers and stepfathers. Other men that my mother had dated and all sorts of craziness. So for a time, I was one of those crazy born-again Christians to find structure in my life. And then I hit high school and started doing more stuff and started learning some more things religion-wise. Really getting into mythologies that I always knew that I loved mythology, but I had libraries that were right there, and so I started studying and getting into it more by the time I was in high school.
Do you have current gods or goddesses that you work with?
I am.
We're all individuals, kind of. Yeah. So.
I have moved around through a couple different pantheons.
Mm-hmm.
Greek gods are where I tend to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
Irish gods are definitely a thing for me. I've been researching more into the Norse because of Tim. But my mainstay is Hestia. I'm also a kitchen witch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that'll look at you and I'll go in the kitchen and go, okay, you need this. And give you what you need food-wise. I watch people walk and can tell you, you need to do this. So that's kind of my
She's really
thing.
bossy.
She is.
I live with
also
a kitchen witch like that.
Yeah.
I'm not just a Sagittarius. I'm uber
She's
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius to the max.
Yeah. My rising moon and sun signs are all Sagittarius.
Oh,
wow.
goodness.
So,
Yeah.
I thought it was bad when I was a triple air sign.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm very
Oh, now I get it.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, that never stops.
I dabbled for a while. I got to know some druids and got kind of heavily into druidism for a while. To the point of I was saving up money to actually go to Stonehenge and participate in stuff at Stonehenge. But life happens,
Yeah. Like it does.
And went back to my roots, went back to Greek stuff, and then like a year after Orion was born, started getting into pagan chats online and met some good friends. And because of them, I got more heavily, and I actually started circling with them, and we had a grove and did a lot more with them. And it's still very near and dear to my heart. They're still very good friends. They saved me. Pretty much, they saved me when my ex decided that we were done. He left me with nothing, literally nothing. And so I couch surfed for a while in their house. And so they gave me a place to live, you know, and so they helped out with a lot of things. And so they're very near and dear people to my heart.
Yeah, most people go to jail or bars to find Jesus, but Amy went to a friend's house and found Hestia, so, you know, it all works.
Yeah. And then my sisters gave me coffee, so my vice is now coffee. I hate coffee, and I still drink it.
And it does nothing for you.
No,
Oh.
it doesn't.
I love coffee, and it does life for me.
Mine, I was in middle school, and I got more into definitely the astrology, numerology, then tarot, and just kind of delved into that, going to the library, finding all the books I could, and reading, because our telephone got shut off that summer because we were broke. And like, books, cool. And my mom was like, books, cool. And she didn't care what I read. Stephen King and
Silver
witchcraft.
Raven.
Yeah. Whatever. So yeah, numerology has always spoken to me. And I found some really cool people online that I'm still friends with. And yeah, that's just kind of what draws crystals and just very intuitive and what speaks to me more. There's no real rhyme or reason to what I do.
Other than what works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Amy is definitely order. Stacia's kind of chaos when it comes to that. I was raised from birth in the Christian household. And I always, especially starting in junior high and high school, I was asking, well, why do we believe these things? And 9 times out of 10, I got the answer, because it's in the Bible, or because God said so, or because this is what we believe. Why are you questioning it? Your faith must not be that great if you're questioning it, and Satan is working his way into your heart, and that never sat with me. And I'm like, no, there has to be a logical reason for all of these things, all of these beliefs. I mean, why specifically were these 10 commandments the tenets of which 3 major religions were based on? And I never got those answers. So I started reading and discovering things on myself and about myself. And my aunt, Alma, whom is one of my dear friends, and I love her to death. She was the first one to break out of the Christian family and start saying, well, you know, witchcraft's not all that bad. It's just you're taking a look at the same stuff we do in church, just differently, in a more natural setting, in a more even flowing way, you know. So instead of saying a prayer, "Our Father who art in heaven," blah blah blah, we're singing a chant to ask for these things to come to us. So my realization was after my first marriage dissolved horribly. Well, actually, no, it was after the second marriage dissolved that I really came to the yes, I've been married twice to crazy short women with big boobs. Yeah, it was a thing. And I came down to realize that most religions are pretty much the same thing. And the reason why I say that is because the first tenet of most religions is do no harm. You know, don't be a dick, according to Whedon's law. And that's usually, I mean, the Christians, they say, do unto others as you would do unto yourself, you know, from the King James Version. But that still comes down to do no harm. you know, and it got a little bit deeper for me to realize that it wasn't just treating others the same way, it's also treating myself in a way that is not harming me. And then I started seeing other people of the different faiths in the pagan world saying basically the same thing, you know, don't hurt anybody, period. The second one is, if you have a deity that you believe in, then you should fully believe in that specific deity or that pantheon. Pay them the homage and listen to what they're saying to you on an individual level. So those are the main two things for most religions. And like I was joking around earlier saying, you know, you take the coloring off of the Easter egg, no matter what the Easter egg looks like, it's still going to be an egg on the inside. And you're still going to eat it because eggs are delicious.
Unless you have a sulfur allergy.
That's true. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, they're a staple of my diet because I'm ovo-lacto.
Yes. Oh my gosh, eggs are amazing. But anyway, getting away from food, back to pagan stuff. Personally,
that is witchcraft.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you know, I went to culinary school so that I could woo women, and it works.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyway, I started to talk with my aunt who started the tarot readings, and I'm like, wow, that deck you have is just really amazing. It really speaks to me. And she goes, well, why don't you try it? It was the dragon tarot that I'm sure that most pagans are familiar with because it's just gorgeously drawn and everything. And I still have a copy of it, you know, and I've got that, and I've got oracle decks like the Brian Froud's Fairies, which is gorgeously drawn. Yeah, those are, well, actually, really, it's the Gummy Bear Tarot that are the Cosmic Clue by Fours, because you flip it out and it's like, oh, I haven't been doing that. I'm so sorry. Don't eat me, gummies.
Whoa, Gummy Bear Tarot is aggressive.
Yeah, very.
And not only that, it's also X-rated, so it's a very interesting deck.
Oh, no, that's not the X-rated one. The X-rated one is the Decemberon.
Yes.
That one is super X-rated.
Super X-rated.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I guess you could say that me getting into the pagan world was through oracles and divinations and tarot, which, you know, of course, and anybody in an Abrahamic faith knows that those are just evil and bad.
And cool.
And super awesome. Yeah.
And pretty.
And being a pagan, I have been, you know, asking, why do you do this particular practice? And I'm getting honest to God answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do this practice because X, Y, and Z. Well, that makes sense. Thank you for telling me that.
And sometimes X, Y, and Z it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a better person.
So, you know, raising a child not going to church, and I feel kind of bad because we have some very, very good friends of ours who are Mormon, and she's gone to church with them, with their kids, and she's like, who's Jesus? And I'm like, I fail as a historian. But we're teaching her basically ethics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I saw somebody posting on Facebook the difference between morality and ethics. Morality is something that you learn by going to a God church, but ethics is logical. You know, and I fully agree with that. I fully believe that. But you can mesh together morality and ethics depending upon whom you believe in and who you practice to. Personally, I'm more into the tricksters because there's always amazing lessons that you can learn and that I have learned and I will continue to learn from the tricksters, whether it's, you know, Loki or Coyote or whatever name you want to put on the particular trickster deity. They're all, they're all there.
And you are a trickster.
I am a trickster. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's how I talk to people. You know, I'm an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're not a Gemini, are you?
no, God, no. I'm a
Okay.
Scorpio.
I'm a Gemini entertainer, so
Yeah.
It's difficult for entertainers.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against Geminis. My mom's a Gemini,
Yeah.
and she's fantastic. And she's this dear, sweet old grandmother who plays the piano and organ at church. And then she likes to go out and hang out at Renaissance fairs and look at men in kilts and race cars. So
She also played piano for a burlesque troupe.
she did play a piano. And then she found out that they were taking off clothes. And she's like, I can't do that. That's just improper.
It was
Her
adorable.
duality and her duplicity intrigues.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and she's definitely in that generation of family. She is definitely one of the ones who is more open to not Christian things. Not that she would ever turn her back on her own personal faith, and I don't want her to, because that is the rock solid foundation that all of us kids base our lives on still to this day. It was mom's faith. It wasn't necessarily the lessons and, singing the songs and tithing and all of that. It was, well, I believe that this is going to happen. I will pray for it, which, we still quote unquote pray with our circles and chants and whatnot. But it was the belief. And I think really that's where I lie on the pagan spectrum. I mean, Amy's got the kitchen witchery, Statia's got the divinations and chaos, and I've got the faith. In our polycule, our main saying is, we'll figure it out. It's what we do. And I mean, we're going to get that emblazoned in Russian or something, and a family crest with like a sheep and a rabbit.
And Cesare Borgia.
Cesare Borgia, yes. Who everybody calls Jesus. The 1940s Mormon picture that everybody... Yeah, you know this picture.
The white cat.
Yeah, the white cat.
It's actually based off of Cesare Borgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole nother story right there.
Yeah, that's like another hour-long program about
I'm sure.
the trickeries of Cesare.
Yeah.
Oh my. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing so much and teaching us all that you did and all the amazing personal stories. We hope that you'll come back again. We're going to, of course, play their last song.
So this song, Go Home William, is what we referred to it originally. We originally wrote it as another closing end of the day at Ren Fair song. Because our director out there was tired of doing The Mermaid every year, and she wanted something new and original. So we wrote this song because at the time our king his character's name was William. So it was the bar patrons saying, William, the queen is coming, and she is a horrible, horrible person, and she will burn this place down if you don't leave right now. So that's how it originally started. And then for longevity's sake, we changed it to being about William Shakespeare, because we no longer have a King William at AZRF. And so, as they say, the rest is history.
The whole town was drinking at the Rose and Crown pub, sing way, hi-de-hey. There's spirits aplenty and awful fine grub down by old London way. When all of a sudden came a mighty big roar, sing way, hi-de-hey. 'Twas his wife saying, William, don't go drinking no more down by old London way. Go home, William, go home. Go home. Don't leave your wife alone. Why not? Oh, she's gracious and witty and also quite pretty. Go home, William, go home. Go home.
The barkeep said, William, go home to your wife.
Sing way, hi-de-hey.
If you don't leave now, I will fear for my life.
Down by old London way.
Drunkard leapt up from his tankard of ale.
Sing way, hi-de-hey.
If your wife comes a knocking, my heart it will fail.
Down by old London way. Go home, William, go home. Go home. Don't leave your wife alone. Why not? Oh, she's gracious and witty and also quite pretty. Go home, William, go home. Go home.
Up spoke the actors with perfect pentameter.
Sing way, hi-de-hey.
You better leave now or there'll be a calamity.
Down by old London way.
Everyone knows the wrath of true love.
Sing way, hi-de-hey.
She's a cast iron queen in a white velvet glove.
Down by old London way. Go home, William, go home. Go home. Don't leave your wife alone. Why not? Oh, she's gracious and witty and also quite pretty. Go home, William, go home. Go home.
Cheer up now, my lord, and don't look so glum.
Sing way, hi-de-hey.
For tomorrow's a new day for drinking good rum.
Down by old London way. The bar's stood up and addressed the crowd, sing way, hi-de, hey. A question for the ages, he spoke it out loud, down by old London Way.
To stay or not to stay? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of a really pissed-off wife, or to take arms with my drunken brothers and drink once more. Aye, there's the rub. Ooh, that's a good rub on the steak. Can I have some steak over here? Oh, kidney pie, something. I'm a bit peckish. I need some food.
Go home. Don't leave your wife alone. Why not? Oh, she's gracious and witty and might rip the city. She's armed with a cannon and mad as a dragon. She really does mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
The fuse now she's lighting, there's no use in fighting. Go home, William, go home.
Raising the children
Oh
in
my
a
God.
pagan household, the rule is only human.
Which Paige told to
Yeah.
Orion at the lovely age of 3. Only human, Bubba. Only human.
Only human.
Because we were having a conversation
having
with
a
Orion
conversation.
about we don't care,
Yeah,
male,
I was,
female, whatever.
He was saying, I was like, talking about, do you have any girls at school that you like? And he's like, no, not really. And I'm like, I mean, it could be a guy. I don't really care. And Paige pipes up with, yeah, Bubba, only human. Only human. At
yeah,
3.
3.
So that became our motto, only human. And then we had to add in the stipulation of consenting age. Yes. So,
And of age.
of age.
And then we had to add in, because, people inevitably ask,
What about aliens?
We'll come to that when we get across that bridge when we come to it.
As long as the body parts
Are
align, I don't
compatible.
care.
We'll find out
consenting
in
age.
September.
Right? A few days before Orion turns 16.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So this time we want to thank our newest Patreon supporter, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for your support.
Yes. You can find Millennial Pagan Podcast on Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, Instagram. Jera, where can they find you to bug you?
Of course, on Instagram at Haggard_cosplay, Twitter at Jera Stone, and you're also going to be seeing something really cool popping up, something I just did at Game On Expo, coming up on my Instagram feed to link you somewhere else. It's going to be awesome.
__. And you guys, where can they find you to follow, listen, hang out, and chat with Far From Home?
The biggest place is on Facebook.
we
letter
Far
R.
From Home.
Far From Home.
And that it can actually find us at .com, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, I think Facebook is Far From Home and Friends.
Nope, we changed it.
We changed it? Oh, cool. So it's we letter R Far From Home, whatever platform you want to try to find us on.
The only one that doesn't quite work yet is YouTube, because we just got that started and we need 100 fans to actually change it to that.
So hey,
Yeah,
follow
follow
us on
YouTube.
And as we say at the Renaissance Fair, follow us on YouTwit Faceagram.
Yep.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, free to be used.
Yeah.
I mean, I might charge you like a hug every 3 or 4 months for royalties.
I'm okay with that.
All right, cool.
Cool.
I like those royalties. And of course, you can find me, Autumn Wolf, on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram for Millennial Pagan Podcast is my Instagram pretty much. And you can also find me on WordPress at ironwolfcircle.com or ironwolf/WordPress. However that works, that's how you find me.
Just search WordPress Autumn Wolf.
You can actually just do Iron Wolf Circle and it pops up. Because I
There.
had to find my own link earlier.
Wait, can I do the Iron Wolf Circle?
Now you're making it sound naughty.
you know,
But from all of us here at Millennial Pagan Podcast and our dear friends from Far From Home, merry meet
Merry part.
and merry meet again.